You wake up one morning after 50 and feel it quietly. Time no longer stretches in front of you, it stands behind you watching. The noise of the world feels thinner, but the silence inside feels heavier. This is not weakness. This is the psyche calling for truth. At this stage of life, what wastes you is no longer failure but unconsciousness. The first trap is living through the persona you built to survive. For decades you wore masks, provider, peacemaker, achiever, because they were necessary. But after 50, the mask begins to suffocate the soul. You feel exhausted, not because life is hard, but because you are still performing for a world that no longer defines you. The tragedy is not that the mask once helped you. It is that you forgot it was never your face. What drains your remaining years is the refusal to let the persona die so the true self can finally breathe. The second trap is unresolved shadow. Everything you rejected in yourself, anger, tenderness, fear, longing, did not disappear. It waited. After 50, the shadow grows louder because the unconscious knows time is limited. Many people waste their later years blaming the world, their family, or fate, when the real battle is internal. What you refuse to confront will control you. Peace does not come from becoming better, it comes from becoming whole. The third trap is clinging to outdated meaning. Goals that once gave structure, status, dominance, approval, lose their power, yet you chase them anyway, hoping they will still save you. This creates a deep inner emptiness. Meaning after 50 is no longer found in expansion, but in integration. Life is no longer asking what you can conquer, but what you can understand, forgive, and accept within yourself. The fourth trap is emotional repression disguised as strength. Many older adults pride themselves on endurance, on never breaking, but what was once resilience becomes rigidity. Unfelt grief turns into bitterness. Unspoken love turns into loneliness. The psyche does not reward emotional silence, it punishes it slowly. Strength at this age is the courage to feel what you avoided when you were young and busy. The fifth trap is postponing individuation. You tell yourself there is still time to change, to speak honestly, to live authentically. This is the most dangerous illusion. After 50, the soul does not want delay, it wants alignment. Every day lived against your inner truth feels heavier, because the unconscious is no longer patient. The call now is not to reinvent yourself, but to finally become yourself. And here is the truth few dare to face. This stage of life is not a decline, it is an initiation. If you have the courage to drop the mask, face the shadow, release false meanings, feel deeply, and live honestly, the second half of life can become the most meaningful chapter of all. Do not waste it by sleepwalking. Turn inward. Be ruthless with self-deception. Be gentle with your wounds. What you seek is not ahead of you. It is waiting within, ready to meet you the moment you choose truth over comfort. For most of your life, the mask served a purpose. It helped you survive. It helped you fit into systems that rewarded obedience, silence, and performance. You learned early which parts of yourself were acceptable and which ones needed to be hidden. So you adjusted. You smiled when you were tired. You agreed when you wanted to resist. You became reliable, useful, agreeable. Over time, people praised the mask and ignored the man behind it. And slowly you learn to ignore him too. After 50, something shifts. The same mask that once protected you begins to drain you. What used to feel like discipline now feels like suffocation. You wake up more often with a quiet heaviness in your chest, a sense that you are living someone else's life on autopilot. The energy it takes to maintain the image becomes exhausting. Small interactions feel heavy. Conversations feel hollow. You feel older, not because of your body, but because of the constant self-betrayal. You may tell yourself it's too late to change, that this is just how life is. That belief is not wisdom, it is fear dressed up as maturity. The psyche does not age the way the body does. It demands honesty, and when it is ignored, it turns inward. Anxiety, bitterness, and emotional numbness are not signs of weakness. They are signals that the false self has stayed in control for too long. The danger is not that others misunderstand you. The real danger is that you no longer know who you are without the mask. You confuse peace with silence and stability with emotional paralysis. You call it being realistic, but deep down you know you are shrinking. After 50, The mask stops being armor and starts becoming a prison. What you avoided when you were younger did not disappear. It waited. You distracted yourself with responsibility, work, survival, and noise, believing that time would soften the edges. But the psyche keeps a precise record. Every fear you refused to confront, every resentment you swallowed, every truth you silenced stayed alive beneath the surface. After 50, distractions weaken, and what was buried begins to speak louder. You may notice it in moments of quiet. A sudden irritation that feels out of proportion. A sense of emptiness that no achievement can fill. Old memories resurfacing without invitation. This is not nostalgia. It is unfinished business. The parts of you that were rejected do not die. They grow stronger in the dark. And when they are ignored long enough, they begin to shape your life without your consent. People often believe control comes from discipline and restraint. In reality, control comes from awareness. What you refuse to face gains power over your mood, your relationships, and your decisions. You react instead of choosing. You judge others harshly for traits you secretly fear in yourself. You withdraw emotionally, not because you want solitude, but because connection threatens to expose unresolved wounds. Later life becomes difficult, not because of age, but because denial loses its effectiveness. The shadow you avoided now sits beside you. It influences how you love, how you trust, how you see the world. You call it being tired, but it is deeper than that. It is the weight of a life half-examined. Peace after 50 does not come from comfort or avoidance. It comes from the courage to turn inward and confront what you have spent decades running from. Because what you refuse to face does not weaken with time. It learns how to rule you quietly. For years, your goals gave you direction. They gave your suffering a purpose, and your sacrifices a justification. You chased stability, status, approval, or survival because those goals were necessary at the time. But something dangerous happens when you keep running toward goals that no longer belong to who you are. After 50, many people continue out of habit, not meaning. You wake up and repeat routines that once made sense but now feel empty. You push yourself toward achievements that no longer excite you, yet stopping feels terrifying. So you keep going, telling yourself that rest will come later. But later never comes. The soul grows tired long before the body does. Motivation fades, not because you are lazy, but because your inner life has outgrown the goals you refuse to release. There is a quiet grief in realizing that the dreams you once pursued were borrowed from others. Society rewarded them, so you adopted them. Now they feel heavy. Continuing to chase them slowly hollows you out. You may call it discipline, but deep down you feel disconnected from yourself. Meaning in later life does not come from doubling down on outdated ambitions. It comes from letting old goals die with dignity. If you refuse to let go, you will keep moving but feel internally stagnant. After 50, chasing goals that have lost meaning does not keep you alive. It slowly drains the life from you. Many older adults pride themselves on endurance, on never showing weakness, on keeping emotions tightly controlled. For decades, this strategy may have served you well, allowing you to navigate life, avoid conflict, and maintain appearances. But after 50, emotional repression ceases to protect. It begins to imprison. The feelings you refuse to express, grief, longing, regret, tenderness, do not disappear. They accumulate beneath the surface, quietly shaping your behavior, your relationships, and your sense of self. You may notice it in subtle ways: irritation that flares without reason, sadness that lingers longer than it should, a sense of disconnection from those you love. You may call it strength, but it is not strength. It is rigidity. The psyche demands expression, not silence. What was once resilience becomes bitterness. What was once self-control becomes emotional paralysis. Many waste their later years believing that holding everything in is wisdom. They avoid confrontation, avoid vulnerability, avoid discomfort, thinking it will protect them. But protection is an illusion. Strength at this age is not the absence of feeling, it is the courage to face emotions honestly, to allow grief, fear, and love to exist without judgment. To embrace what you once denied is the only way to prevent emotional stagnation and to experience connection that is real, deep, and sustaining. The most dangerous illusion after 50 is the belief that there is still unlimited time to become authentic, to speak truthfully, to live fully. You tell yourself tomorrow will be easier, that next year you will confront the parts of yourself you have ignored, that one more project, one more compromise, one more habit will not matter. But the unconscious does not wait. It grows impatient with delay. Every day you postpone honesty with yourself adds weight to the unexamined life. You may try to distract yourself with work, social obligations, or trivial routines, convincing yourself that you are still productive, still relevant. Yet these diversions only deepen the gap between who you are and who you could become. Every unspoken truth, every suppressed desire, every compromise that you cling to subtly shapes your decisions, your relationships, and your sense of peace. At this stage, life demands alignment. The ego resists, offering excuses, rationalizations, and justifications, but the soul does not negotiate. Real freedom comes when you finally stop performing, stop bending, stop explaining, and allow yourself to be fully visible. Only then can you experience relationships that are authentic, work that is meaningful, and days that feel alive. The time you have left is too precious to live in denial, to postpone becoming yourself, to waste another moment on illusion.